Flavors. My name is Brittany Allyn, and today I'm in the historic Fisherman's Wharf area of San Francisco, California. I've been sightseeing all morning, worked up quite an appetite, and what could be better than seeing the sights and enjoying the local seafood at the same time? Join me as I savor the flavors of the Franciscan Crab Restaurant. The Franciscan was an obvious choice for lunch. With the panoramic views and 20-foot windows, you can see all the sights from here. Things like San Francisco Bay, the skyline, the Golden Gate Bridge, the Bay Bridge, Alcatraz, and of course, Fisherman's Wharf. Now, there's seafood. It is the Crab Restaurant after all. And when you walk up the stairs, they're proudly displayed right at the entrance. And I suspect there's some crab in my future. Remember when I said there was Dungeness crab in my future? Well, I decided to start with the Dungeness crab cocktail. And look at that, picture perfect, just like in the menu. And I think it's so cute, they even have like a little chive straw here, like it's a cocktail. And some lemon, which I'm going to squeeze on top of this wonderful mound of crab meat. Look at that, it is so pretty. Now, can I eat it without it all spilling everywhere? Let's see. I'm just gonna start with the top. Just get some of that delicious crab meat. Sweet, succulent. This is what I come to the Crab Restaurant for, right here. That is delicious. For my entree, I chose the Cioppino. Cioppino is a San Francisco original. It dates back to the early 1800s when Portuguese and Italian fishermen settled in the North Beach area, and they would make a seafood stew out of their daily catch. And the name Cioppino sort of maybe lends to the fact that everybody would sort of chip in what they caught for the day to make the stew. And it's got a tomato base served with a nice piece of baguette. And this sort of looks like a little treasure chest. I love this beautiful tureen that they serve it in. And it's kind of like hidden treasure. You never know exactly what is going to be in your Cioppino. So I can't wait to see. And of course, they've got everything is in shells. Now, you can get a lazy man Cioppino somewhere else, but we're not lazy, right? But here we have, here's a shrimp. Surprise. Let's try that. So nice and tender, and the broth, that tomato, there's some wine in there, of course some garlic, different herbs. And here, look at this wonderful little clam. And they give you all these tools to eat with. Here, you got the little forks, so you can get everything out of there. Let's try that. It's like a little pillow of seafood goodness. So yummy. Now, dig in. Let's go a little deeper here and see what we have. Of course, there's going to be crab because this is the Crab Restaurant. Here, look at that. Calamari, little piece of calamari there. So nice and tender. What I love about it is they've added all the ingredients at just the right time, so everything is cooked properly. Go. Let's see what else is in here. Oh, there it is. Look at that. There is a mussel in here. I love mussels. Oop, I almost lost it. There it is. There. After that, you just have to take some of that broth. It is so good. It's like comfort food. This will cure whatever ails you, I promise. This, my friends, is how you savor the flavors of San Francisco. There's a definite Italian influence to the menu, and so for dessert, I went with my Italian classic. It's called Limone Torta del Nonna, which translates as grandmother's cake, but it's sort of a lemon tart. It's got a lemon custard, and there's pine nuts on top, served with a little scoop of ice cream, and it is so pretty. Wonderfully tart. I think there's like some almond paste in there because that's coming through. The crunch from those pine nuts is beautiful. It's so creamy. The powdered sugar, just enough sweetness to kind of offset that lemon tartness. And a little bit of ice cream. What a lovely dessert. The perfect ending to my meal at the Franciscan Crab Restaurant. It was at the Franciscan Crab Restaurant where I first tried Cioppino, and the minute that magnificent seafood concoction crossed my lips, I couldn't wait to get home to try and recreate it. On today's show, we'll sort of feature 2 meals in one, both of which I like to start with a crisp romaine salad dressed with a lovely pineapple basil vinaigrette. I'll share with you my recipe for homemade marinara. It makes a large batch, so serve half of it over pasta for a spaghetti night, and freeze the other half to use at a later date as the base for my quick and easy cioppino. Today we're going to begin with the marinara. Actually, I've already started. I've got a pot on the stove. It's got a half cup of olive oil in it. To it, I added 1 large onion that's been diced, and also 2 stalks of celery that have been diced, and I have a real small dice on them. Then I added 8 cloves of garlic, and I add the garlic cloves whole because I find that when the garlic hits the heat, it sort of extracts the oil. Now to that, we're going to add 2 carrots that I have grated. I like to add the carrot in here because I find it just sort of rounds out the flavor. It's got a real subtle sweetness to it, and it's a great way to get more veggies in your sauce. The kids will never know it. And here I have 1 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, and I kind of like to just sort of crush those in my palm a little bit to get the oils working there, and that will add a wonderful spice to our sauce. And also I've got 4 tablespoons of tomato paste we're going to add. Now we're just going to let that saute for a little bit, and while that's going on, we are going to talk about wine. You know, I always like to talk about wine. I like to put red wine in my marinara, and I find oftentimes that wines from a certain region go well with dishes from the same region. And Italian dishes, especially those with a tomato-based sauce or something, seem to go really well with Chianti. So for this recipe, we need 1½ cups. I'll just measure this out here. And let's see how our carrots are doing over here. Now it is time to remove those garlic cloves. And you want to make sure and get all 8 of them. Okay, now we can add our red wine. And when you're cooking with wine, it's always a great idea to use wine that is a good quality wine, because if it's not something you want to drink, trust me, you don't want to cook with it either. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an expensive wine. Now what we're going to do is just let this come to a simmer. We're going to deglaze our pot and then just let that wine reduce. And while that's going on, we're going to work on some of the fresh herbs that go in our sauce. What I love about making your own sauce is that you know exactly what's in it. And for this, we need some fresh oregano and also some fresh basil. Okay, our herbs are looking and smelling great. Let's see how our wine is doing over here. Oh yeah, look at that. See how it's starting to thicken so nicely? The wine has reduced and it just adds a beautiful depth to this sauce. It's going to be a lovely, rich sauce. Now to that, we're going to add some tomato puree. I've got 2 28-ounce cans of tomato puree here. Here's a hint: when working with red sauce, wear red. That way if it splashes, you'll be all right. Let's get all of this in there. Okay, now to that, we are going to add 2 bay leaves, and these we'll take out before we serve the sauce. Also some salt and some sugar And we're just gonna mix this up, combine all these wonderful ingredients, and we're gonna bring this to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer. And we can't forget our fresh herbs. What would it be without our fresh herbs, right? Our oregano and that basil, we'll get that in there. And we're just gonna combine all of this, and we just want this to sort of simmer nice and low and slow for about an hour. Now, we're gonna come back in just a little bit, and when we do, we'll continue with our Franciscan-inspired menu. Don't go away. Welcome back. It is time to get on with our Franciscan-inspired menu. Pineapple Basil Vinaigrette. Two great flavors. I think you'll love them together. I've got a 1/4 cup of fresh basil leaves. We'll put those in our food processor. I packed them in there pretty good. I bought some crushed pineapple and drained it, and here I've got a 1/4 cup of that. And then I reserved the juice, and I've got about 4 tablespoons of the pineapple juice. Here I have 2 tablespoons of white wine vinegar. It is a vinaigrette. And I've got 1 teaspoon of shallot, finely minced, and 1½ teaspoons of honey. This, of course, will sweeten our vinaigrette. We can get it out of there, a little sticky. And I've got 1 teaspoon here of Dijon mustard, which will act as our emulsifier. And we need some salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon, sea salt, and a few turns of freshly cracked black pepper. And we're gonna put the lid on and process this. And then we're going to stream in about a 1/3 cup of extra virgin olive oil. And that is our pineapple basil vinaigrette, just like that. Now, our cioppino. Of course, I'm going to use the base that we made earlier, but there's a few ingredients that I like to add to it specifically for this recipe. And one of those is fennel. If you've never used fennel before, it is a vegetable and it has sort of a mild anise flavor. And if you've never used it, it can look a little daunting, like, what do I do with this? Well, here's what I do. I just take the knife and we're going to cut these ends off. Okay, our fennel is all nicely sliced. Now what I'm going to do is go over here to the stove and heat a pot over medium heat and put about a tablespoon of olive oil in there. About like that. And I've got one more ingredient, and that is lemon. I like to use the lemon zest in this. Lemon and seafood goes great together. And what I'm just going to do is sort of peel strips of the zest with my vegetable peeler. Okay, now I'm going to drop those in our pot. Get that going. Also here I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. We want this nice and spicy. Put that in there. And then of course our fennel. And we're just going to lightly saute this until the fennel gets nice and tender. Now over here I have some pine nuts. Remember the dessert that we had? The grandmother's cake had pine nuts in it and lemon. Well, I put the lemon in my cioppino, but I'm going to just take these pine nuts and toast them on the stove, and we will put them on top of our salad. I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how this cioppino comes together. Welcome back. Our fennel has cooked down nicely. Now to this we're going to add some other things here. Of course, the marinara that we made earlier. We've got 3½ cups of that. And to that, we're going to add 1.5 cups of seafood stock. If you can't find seafood stock, clam juice will work as well. And 1.5 cups of water. And also a half teaspoon of sea salt. We're just going to combine this. We're going to bring this to a boil and just let it simmer for a little bit. And I'm going to cover that so that process will go a little more quickly. Now, in the meantime, we are going to talk about seafood. I've got quite an assortment here. I've got some little neck clams, some mussels, shrimp, a portion of halibut, and also some bay scallops. Now, because we're going to put the shells in the broth and everything, I cleaned them earlier, and to do that I like to use this little nail brush or fingernail brush, and I just run them underwater and scrub them like that and get them nice and clean. I also reserved one of the mussels here. If you notice, it has this little beard is what it's called that's on there, and when you clean them you want to pull that out and remove that, and I just wanted to show you that. They don't always have that, sometimes they've been cleaned and removed, but make sure that they're all nice and closed and clean. Now let's see how this is going over here, see if it's boiling. Oh yeah, perfect. This is smelling wonderful, by the way. Give that a little bit of stir. And now it's time to add some of the seafood. We're going to add our mussels, clams, and shrimp first. Just sort of drop those in. And we'll put the lid back on. And they're going to take about 5 minutes, I think. Once those shells pop open, we can move on to the next step. Oh, this one was good. I thought maybe he wasn't, but he decided to close. In you go. Okay, while that's going on, I'm going to cut up our halibut, and we just want these kind of in bite-sized pieces. Okay, now let's see what's going on over there, see if those shells have opened up. Oh yeah, look at that. Simmering cauldron, the shells are opened. It's like they're smiling at you. And now it's time to add the rest of our seafood. Now all of that needs about 3 to 5 more minutes. While that's going on, we are going to talk about bread. And I've got some here, and sourdough in San Francisco is just a must. I'm going to cut this up, take a little break. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to plate our Franciscan-inspired meal. Welcome back. It is time for plating. We're going to start by plating our salad. I'm going to take some of the pineapple basil vinaigrette and just pour it into the bottom of the bowl like this. I've got about, maybe a tablespoon there, a touch more. And then we're going to take some romaine. I've got some romaine and also some flat leaf parsley here. Just a couple handfuls to make a nice salad. And to that we're going to add some cucumber and also some celery. I like to keep this salad all green. I think that's pretty sometimes. And why not add some of those fennel fronds that we had from earlier? I think they'll be good in this salad as well. And then we're just going to take our tongs and toss the salad until it's all evenly coated with that dressing. Okay, I think that's looking good. And then we'll just put it onto our plate here. Okay, that is perfect. Then what I like to do is take some Parmesan cheese and just do a few Parmesan curls on top of it. Love that flavor with this, just a little saltiness on there. Like that, just make it pretty. And of course those toasted pine nuts that we did earlier for a garnish. So pretty. But on to the star of the show, our Cioppino. Look out. Now, I'm gonna move this aside here and move this center stage, open it up, and wow, look at that, steaming hot. We'll put this back here for a moment, and we're just gonna take a ladle and ladle it into our tureen. Look at that, that is a meal fit for a king or queen. And what we're going to do then is take a little bit of our basil. Remember the chiffonade cut we did on that, and just kind of put that on the top. And there you have our cioppino. We're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, we are going to taste and toast the fruits of our labor. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is my favorite part of the show, the tasting. Now for my wine, of course, I went with the same wine that we cooked with earlier, the Bonfim Chianti Classico. I knew that way it would be the perfect pairing. We're going to start with our salad, romaine salad with a pineapple basil vinaigrette. Let's get some of everything if we can. Spirit. That is fabulous. The romaine has such a nice crunch. The dressing, that pineapple with the basil is so fresh tasting. And I love a little bit of that fennel that we put on the top. That is so good. Love, love, love that salad. But now, the star of the show. You know, some food memories are so precious to me. They almost make me tear up. I love my experience at the Franciscan, and even more when I was victorious in trying to recreate the recipe. That was a big day for me. Let's taste. First, we'll just get some of the broth. It is so rich, just a little spicy on the finish. Now, some of the seafood, we have shrimp right there. So tender, so delicious. And look here, clam. Let's just get him right out of there. Wow. Loving it, love it. It's always a good idea to serve a plate or a bowl for the shells when you're serving a cioppino like this. And that little bit of basil on top. This is heavenly. And of course, sourdough bread. When you're visiting San Francisco, pop into Boudin Bakery. They have been making sourdough bread in San Francisco since 1849 with the original mother starter, and it's great for sopping up some of that wonderful broth. Oh, chewy, so good. And now the wine. That is divine. The perfect pairing. If you'd like the recipes that I made on today's show, they're available on my website, savortheflavors.tv. Next time you visit San Francisco, stop in at the Franciscan. You won't be disappointed. But between now and then, I'd love for you to try my recipes. Either way, I hope you take time to savor the flavors.